Yeah, what's good, Joe? Shaman the Bigga P, and I'm here to record my thoughts on the Mike Alvarado-Ruslan Provodnikov fight. All I can say is, wow. Um, yeah, I mean, on the card, it was definitely um, for this fight when it was announced. It was like, oh yeah, we're about to have this one is a fight of the year candidate, no question. Of course, the question was, how was it going to play out? Would it be Alvarado boxing the man, or would it be Alvarado, brawling with him? And it turned out to be a little bit of both. Why? Because Ruslan kept the pressure on him from round one. The first round started off, great. With Ruslan just throwing bombs, just throwing bombs in that round. And then after that round, Mike, started boxing him, and he had plenty of success boxing Ruslan. Even as Ruslan was coming off the ring on him, he still was on his toes, moving. Going, switching from conventional to Southie, although I think when he did the Southie, he didn't really. I mean, his power was just strictly in that right hand only. Still, I mean, he had no knockout punch in his left hand. So pretty much is what you call controlled aggression. And then in between that, Mike would deviate from boxing and then standing toe to toe and absorbing some shots, absorbing left hooks off the break and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, so it was all. I mean, it was one of those things like you don't want to see that happen so early in the fight. Um, so as the fight went on, it was it was becoming more. Most people thought it would be a wild brawl. So it just became more of an actual chess match, a brutal one where you could see Ruslan was now alternating now between going to the head and going to the body to slow Mike down. And it all came to head in round 8, where I guess Mike just got caught and got pummeled to the canvas twice, nearly on the verge of being KO'd. And I thought the stoppage would happen there, but Mike showed heart in actually fighting him off and actually lasting the round. But that was pretty much his last stand. Round 9, again, he was taking some shots. And in round 10, Ruslan just absolutely battered him senseless to the point where he was out on his feet in the stool. And I'm over here thinking to myself, I think I'll let Mike out for this fight, because if Mike had actually come out for round 11, there was no doubt in my mind that that Ruslan probably would have slumped him, that he would have gone down, and he would have not walked out of his power. But it was good that Mike himself said no, because he didn't want any more of that. He literally was done in that fight. His eye was all swollen. It was closed from the left hooks, and but nothing to take away from Mike's performance in that fight. And Mike fought with heart, and when he boxed, he was effective. But as they go in Mexicans in boxing, they don't know. I mean, they can't keep that up for so long. Plus, with Mike, being actually fighting in his town, and then from what I understand, now, I mean, it seemed like he was no longer the interim champion. He'd actually been upgraded to. Excuse me. It's kind of like we just upgraded to full status of WBO champion. I had all those added pressures, and it was just too much for him to overcome. But still, my hats off to him, and my hats off to Ruslan, who used intelligent pressure, cut off the ring on him, broke him down with head, shots to the body, the head, and just pummeled him. And even as he got cut up and everything, as he got cut over his eye, he still kept on coming. And I take nothing away from Ruslan. Like, he fought how he usually fought, and he finally got that victory he wanted, and now he's the new WBO champion at 140. Like I said, it was a great fight, and I will call it a fight of the year candidate, because it was just because it had me on the edge of my seat like this. It's like who's gonna break first from this punishment. But absolutely great fight, and I can't wait to download this fight probably in the next 20 minutes or so. man, nothing. And the only thing I wish for this fight is I wish they actually built more of a televised card around it. I mean, I know they had Juan Diaz on the undercard. I didn't even get a really chance to see that fight. Excuse me. I don't even know why I'm yawning. I know they showed Juan Diaz on on another card, but I wish they would have actually had more of a televised portion of it. Else, because I would have been more than happy to actually fly out to Denver myself and see the fight. But take nothing away from. But like I said, it takes nothing away from the fight, and it's definitely a classic. And I think with Mike Alvarado, he's probably the only fighter to participate in the fights that I would call a fight of year candidate beforehand, and it actually does turn up into a fight of year candidate. The other fight, of course, I'm talking about is Real Alvarado too. I think those are the only fights this year where I said I think it would be fight of the year candidate quality, and they were, and he's been part of those fights. With Alvarado, I mean, he's basically like the last four of his last five bouts of him, the brawls, like brawls with punchers, with known punchers. And there's only so much of these brawls he can actually take. I mean, all these brawls are going to catch up to him if they're not. Now, this fight was not indicative on where basically where Mike is on if he's expired or not. It was just a fight where he was stopped late. But my guess is after he's recovered from this fight, he needs to take a soft touch, and like he really needs a soft touch. If they actually want, try to get Mike to get one more final run out of his career, they need to, they need to give him a couple soft touches at least, especially if they're trying to maybe try to cash out on a Rios Alvarado 3, which is going to be interesting depending on how Rios is like come next month after his fight from Pacquiao. I can only imagine if Rios was damaged in that fight, then of course that fight should never take place. But it will because it's money. It's a money fight, and those two have no qualms about beating each other senseless. So, but we'll see where Alvarado goes from here. Let's go back to drum blast. For Ruslan, he's a 140 champ. Now it's a shame that the top ranked Golden Boy thing is really causing such a cold war of some sort within boxing. It's just, I mean, I know Ruslan can go. I mean, Ruslan is a champ at 140, so naturally, I'm not looking at 147 go to to do fights. I'm talking about like 140 fighters he can actually face. And other than Rios, there's not. I mean, of course, Rios is now competing at welter. It's like, I mean, who is he gonna fight? I mean, it's one of those things. Like, I mean, you can't just. Is he gonna get some sort of unknown, or is he gonna have a WBO mandatory? But I mean, I know Ruslan is not necessarily signed to Top Rank. He works with them, I think, on a number of fight agreement or basis or whatever. So, but I know Top Rank and HBO are definitely not gonna let him go. So, well, I mean, we'll see where it goes in terms of what fights he actually gets. Because I know, I think probably has maybe one more fight that they used to co-promote with Aram. And he can go off to do. He could probably do what Coda does, and if he was smart, he would probably stay with that option, so he can go back and forth with HBO and Showtime, and get his money. But yeah, and but yeah, well, I'll be more happy to see where he goes from there. I mean, I've watched Ruslan since the days his days on Friday Night Fight when he was facing the likes of Chop Chop and struggling with Chop Chop to this. It's like, I'm glad he finds someone like this guy. He had entertaining fights on Friday Night Fights, and now he's having entertaining fights worldwide. So I'm very happy for him. And also, just to mention a number, I'm not gonna call this a review. I just also finished watching the Ward and Gotti Legendary Nights episode, and it just brought back so many memories from the first fight, that ninth round, where Ward is landing those fight night combos on Gotti on when he's on the ropes with his hands down, to the second fight where where Ward takes a head first dive off a punch, and that's the part that I think that screwed up his vision, gave him the double vision. And in the third fight, which was just as brutal as the first fight. But I think it doesn't the third fight doesn't really get mentioned as much. Where of course, where Ward almost knocks out Gotti with the overhand right. And then I really like the detail that he showed that they went about in those three fights, and I think it got sadder though when they moved on to Gotti's tail end of his career. The fights where he took the ass whoopings against Floyd and Baldomir, and then seeing the footage of him get in that fight with Gomez was incredibly sad because he literally had nothing left. He had nothing left for Gomez, and Gomez just knocked him the fuck out. It was sad. And then what I was not prepared to see. I mean, although yes, I liked how they gave the stories of friendship and the trooper calling Mickey Ward after Gaddy fell asleep behind the wheel and crashed into the Holland Tunnel and stuff like that. But what I was not prepared to see was HBO airing Gaddy's death pick. Um, Now, I mean, I had seen it before in grainy details. I mean, but seeing it on my TV in HD, was unsettling. It was very unsettling. It's probably the one, and it's probably the reason why I won't really add that into my collection because I really was not expecting that. And that kind of took me by surprise. I'm like, damn, they really aired that picture of him lying there. And just like people in the documentary, I don't believe for a second that Gotti killed himself. Some funny shit went down in Brazil, and it got covered up. And I'm definitely looking at Gotti's ex-wife because, like I said, it's sad that Gotti should have been here. He should have been on this camera going through his career. He should have been at Hall of Fame. Thanking everyone for his induction. Now, my views on Gotti on the Hall of Fame are, I have my views on that, but I won't put him here. I won't put him down here. Out of respect for just for me talking about the documentary, but yeah, it was great stuff. HBO does it again, and I'm also very curious to see what type of fights they're going to be doing Legendary Nights for. I have all of them from the original run, and I'll definitely look forward to watching more of them. So that's about it. I'm about to, like I said, get this fight and go on the forum some more, talk about the fight some more, and yep. And I know we got some fights next week, so I'll see you then. All right, peace.